Hello and welcome to the Game Player Cast review for the third-person RPG adventure game Hogwarts Legacy. Hogwarts Legacy is a single-player third-person RPG adventure game developed by Avalanche Software and published by Warner Bros. Games. The game takes place in the late 1800s and follows a new fifth-year student and his adventures in and around the legendary school of witchcraft and wizardry. Given the gaming world's recent record of big title release disasters, you would not be alone in having had some nerves around this one, especially considering how many times they delayed it. So time to ask that all-important question: did they pull it off? They absolutely did. This is a great game and a must-have for any true Harry Potter fan. And here's why. Revelio. As I mentioned earlier, the game takes place in the late 1800s and the player takes the part of a new fifth year student who's just joined Hogwarts. Right out of the bat on your way to Hogwarts, you, Professor Fig, and a member of the Ministry of Magic are attacked by a dragon. Surviving the attack and exhibiting a strange affinity for a rare form of ancient magic, you investigate further with Professor Fig and discover an ancient magic artifact. Ranrock, the leader of the Goblin Dissidents, confronts you, demanding you hand over the artifact. A fight ensues and you escape to Hogwarts, arriving just in time for the sorting ceremony. From this point on, you have free roam around the castle and the surrounding area to attend lessons, learn new spells, complete assignments, minigames, quests, and subquests. As you go, you'll come across various NPCs such as Sebastian Swallow and Nats Ioni, each of which having their own subplot and quests. Sebastian is a Slytherin, and his questline is a personal favourite. Herbology is also a personal favourite, primarily because of a certain professor. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, the main plot continues to follow your journey to unlock more of your ancient magic potential with Professor Fig as your mentor. I'm purposely keeping the details vague, as though the plot is not terribly complicated, I don't want to take away from people's experience by going into very specific details. To give a basic overview, you're essentially racing the goblins to complete a number of ancient magic trials, the conclusion of which should grant you the power to defeat Ranrock's rebels and prevent a war. Like I said, it's not overly complicated, but I think it's enough when combined with the fun of attending classes and going on quests with your fellow students. The time frame of the setting is also well selected, as it avoids any kind of canon violations, as it's well before the events of the books, though the headmaster is actually mentioned in the 5th book, which is a great example of the finesse present in the game. I think the setting itself does a frankly amazing job of taking the Hogwarts from the film and books and turning it into a real thing, bursting with secrets to explore. The attention to detail is astounding, it feels real and believable. For example, I was in the trophy room, heard a clatter, and turned round to see 2 suits of armour fighting. One smashed the other to pieces, and then went back and stood on its plinth. There's day and night cycles. Each term the season changes, and so does the decor in and around the castle. You can really tell that the people making this game were fans of the universe, and it really shows. Moreover, we get the entire village of Hogsmeade, and frankly a huge map to explore, far bigger than I ever anticipated when the game was announced. The outfits, accents, and scenery all look and feel the part. There are slight niggles here and there, such as the voice acting being a bit wooden at times, and there's definitely a Bethesda RPG quality to the in-game conversations, but given the size and ambition of the game, it's totally forgivable. Just ride your broom out, or your hippogriff, over the lake at sunset and look back at the castle. It's stunning. The last thing I'll mention here is that I am so glad that they went and got the sounds from the movies and based the game's sound effects and soundtrack on it. That original John Williams score is epic, and hearing it creep into the end of a quest or when you find some secret just adds the icing to the cake. When I first saw the gameplay trailers, it was the combat that I really had reservations about. It looked one-dimensional and repetitive. However, I was pleasantly surprised. It's not perfect, but it is actually engaging, with an almost Souls-like quality to the dodging and blocking mechanics. This ensures that battles with multiple foes or powerful enemies have a good element of challenge, so that when you successfully block, stupefy, and bombard a dark wizard in the face, it's damn satisfying. There's unlockable spell wheels, so you can cast multiple spells and customise your loadouts, a basic but useful levelling system to add extra abilities and damage. Even the clothing you wear can be upgraded to increase your attack and defence. All in all, it's one of the best things about the game, and has bags of potential for the future too. I do think more could be done to make the interface a bit smoother. It's very easy to switch spells mid-fight accidentally, or my personal kryptonite, forget to release the right trigger so that my Protego and dodges don't work, which can be a bit frustrating at times. Moving on. Thankfully, the game features a Flume network or fast travel system, so getting around places is very quick and easy once you've unlocked the location. For all the other occasions, you have your trusty broomstick or mount. Personally, I barely used my hippogriff. Zooming around on a broomstick is awesome, and thankfully, you can use Revelio while mounted to scan the local area for points of interest. There are a number of fantastical beasts that can be captured and placed inside your sanctuary in the Room of Requirement. Setting up the habitats and looking after the beasts is worth your time and effort, as they offer rare crafting materials to upgrade your gear. The Room of Requirement itself is a really nice touch. There's tons of decorations and styles, as well as practical things like potion making stations and herbology planters. The customization is a bit clunky with a controller, but still, you can customize things to really make your own base of operations. There are a ton of quests, all fully voiced and containing a wide variety of objectives: deliver items, track missing people, defeat a special enemy, etc. All the usual things you'd expect in an RPG, and all nicely finished and themed for the Wizarding world. The only thing missing, to be honest, is Quidditch. I think if they had managed to fit this into the game, we would be pushing towards that perfect score. Unfortunately, they did not. But there are some nice touches: broomstick time trials, dueling club, summoning court. The list goes on. Collectibles are a big part of the game. Maybe a tad too big. However, these do add a lot of depth and extra information to the game. Some also provide a nice reward for exploring areas of the castle, unlocking a door, or solving a puzzle. Something that I almost forgot to mention is the detailed character creation process at the start and the customization and loot system. This game has one of the best loot systems of any game. Each time you unlock a new item with better stats, you can equip it and leave it as is, or you can adjust its appearance to look like any other item of that type that you've unlocked, or make it invisible altogether. It is such a good way of doing loot and equipment in this type of game. I also love the addition of wand handles to customize your wand as well.
It is your destiny.
I pretty much gave this away earlier, but the game looks fantastic. In particular, the scenery and environments really look great for a game of this size and scale. The environmental lighting is also impressive. All in all, this creates a very realistic looking world, which helps immerse you in the game. That said, I'm not a graphics man, so forgive me that I really only comment on obvious mistakes or poor quality. And overall, for an RPG game's first outing, its graphics and visuals are great. Once again, there are some pretty obvious imperfections. These are most apparent on the character models. Playing on the Xbox Series X in both fidelity and performance modes, the lighting on the character models does some odd things. Professor Fig in his office seems to regularly have a strange pixel flickering effect on his face. This has happened multiple times. Equally, the lighting just doesn't seem to sit quite right at times. It flickers light and dark during cutscene conversations, flashing from a washed out look due to bright light down to dark colours a moment later, despite the light not changing and the characters not moving. Seems to be something to do with how the camera is applying the light, so that changes in camera angle change the lighting effects. Anyway, something isn't quite right, but that said, these are relatively minor imperfections that I'm sure will be patched out and improved in time. Time for some curses. Overall, I don't have any major dark marks to cast. I think my biggest gripe is the sheer weight and volume of collectibles. I mean, I am a Harry Potter fan, so I naturally collected 90% of the collectibles in Hogwarts on impulse as I explored every nook and cranny. And to be honest, I enjoyed solving the puzzles and finding these bits of trivia out. Though I can imagine someone who is playing the game as a neutral party wouldn't find some of these as interesting. Equally, if you don't suffer from gaming OCD, which demands you attempt to 100% every game you buy, even if you know it's basically impossible, you might also get fed up hunting these things down and casting Revelio 10,000 times. I mean, it makes you a right muggle, but yeah. I did also mention previously that I do feel the combat controls could be tweaked and improved. I feel a slowdown mechanic to allow you to switch quick spells would be good, as would more spell slots. I think there is an argument to say the combat gets a bit repetitive and a few more spells and enemies would remedy this. Where are the Patronuses and Dementors, man? Finally, I feel the RPG side could be beefed up considerably too. The leveling system is pretty shallow and could contain a bit more complexity and customization to really allow for some more unique character builds and abilities. Equally, I didn't feel that any of the conversation options in the game had any impact or lasting consequences. It would have been sweet to have had a Renegade and Paragon system like the Mass Effect games. Moreover, I feel some alternative endings or results for the character-driven subplots would have really elevated the gameplay too. After the crushing disappointment of Cyberpunk, I vowed to never pre-order a game again. Having already had this game on pre-order, I didn't have to break that vow either. But when it was delayed not once, but 3 times if my memory is correct, I was really starting to get worried. Thankfully, Avalanche were given the time to do this game and do it right. There is love and attention to detail in every element of the game. Okay, the RPG side is not what you would call hardcore, and the main story arc is pretty linear, but the setting has all the magic from the books. It feels right and looks fantastic. The combat mechanics are addictive, satisfying and fun, while the map is frankly huge and littered with enemies, quests, minigames, beasts and treasure. There's hours and hours of gameplay for your money, and while I first thought the collectibles were a bit too much, by the time I reached the end of the game, they felt about right. I 100% of the game in about 60 hours, and it was worth every penny of the purchase price. If it wasn't obvious from my tone, I'm a big Harry Potter fan, and this game delivered for me in a big way. Initially, I was going to give the game a respectable 8 out of 10, but the game honestly gets better and better the longer you play, and that scene with the suit of armour fighting in the trophy room tipped it over the edge. I award Hogwarts Legacy a 9 out of 10. I've loved every minute of the game. There's a reason why Harry Potter is such a global hit with audiences. There is a magic to the world, and this game embodies it brilliantly. For a studio's first outing, this really is exceptional work. Yes, there are some issues and imperfections, so there's room for improvement, but I'm really excited to see what they do next. There must be some Quidditch DLC, they would be insane not to be working on this, and then after that, they must be thinking of a sequel of some description. Personally, I think they could redo the books/movies into games, and if each played like this, and was of a similar finish quality, I would be a very happy fan. Whatever they do, they've at least partially restored my faith in gaming, and I'll happily pre-order their next product. This is a must-buy for any Harry Potter fan, and even those just looking for their next RPG or adventure game will enjoy playing this one. If you want to check out Hogwarts Legacy following this review, it's available on current-gen consoles and PC. This concludes the Gameplay Cast review of the third-person RPG adventure game, Hogwarts Legacy. I've been Tim from Gameplay Casts, you've been awesome, and all that's left for me to say is peace out and thanks for watching.